Hello and welcome. My name is Eveline Oehrlich. I'm Chief Research Officer at DevOps Institute. I've been there since 2018. Before that, I spent many years as analyst and research director at Forrester Research. Some of you might be familiar with that particular market research organization. Happy to be here and share with you some of the details and interesting findings on Global Upskilling IT 2022. With the title of Upskilling IT is a professional and organizational imperative. Now, if you're not familiar with the DevOps Institute, go check it out. I'm sure you find some interesting resources. This is one of the projects I've been running for 4 years, and we are in our fourth report looking at what's necessary and essential relative to skills in IT, and I'm excited to share with you some of the details. So let's get started. Just quickly on the demographics, so you can see this is quite a undertaking. We have over 2,400 global respondents when we do the survey. So the research report is typically based on a survey. And so here on the left-hand side, you can see the demographics. It's the 4 years running, as I said. For the respondents, you can see we have a variety of company sizes, really honing in on the enterprise size and on the revenue size, also relative to the organizations which are fairly large. Respondents range from 100 up to 120 countries. The reports actually have we have 4 reports, 1 global report and then 3 regional reports, and I'll tell you later about where to find it. But I wanted to not waste your time on demographics and really get into some of the findings. At the very high level, it is unbelievable that, and many of you probably will say, duh, Eveline, you don't need me to tell that, but there are insufficient resources out there today relative to IT. So it's a huge challenge for global organizations. 40% of our survey respondents said that the resources and skill shortage is one of the top 3 challenge. Second, important, and the research supports that, it is not enough to address technical debt. We also must address the talent debt, and we'll get into that relative to what are the different categories of capabilities and skills you should be thinking of and should upskill yourself. And that's why we call the report the Upskilling of IT 2022. It is a professional and organizational imperative, and I want to put it very close to your heart to remember that. Okay, now important to know is, as I already mentioned, one of the top 3 challenges, which is insufficient skills and resources of 40%, our survey respondents said. There's also budget and funding issues. 37% indicated that towards us. If you think of and read Gartner research or Forrester or IDC, and you average the budget increase together, or you add it together and you average it out, you get to about 3% of IT budget increases between 21 and 22. The forecasts for 22, the growth from 22 to 23 are actually dim because of the challenges with our economy and other challenges, be it as a recession in your country, in my country, coming to you from Europe, or in the rest of the Americas, either North America or South America. Then the last challenge, managing technical debt and avoiding technical debt. One other interesting detail we found when we asked about skills shortage, as I kept thinking there must be developer shortage everywhere. Well, I'm happy to say, because I am an infrastructure and operations person myself, have always been, that there is a significant shortage in these I&O resources. So operations engineers, infrastructure engineers are in short supply. Second, leadership, and then last, developers, and the report has more details in terms of the percentages. Now, we also asked about what are the big skill gaps within IT, and here you see them. I won't read them to you, as you can read for yourself, but you can obviously, there is many of those. We're going much deeper into some of those skill capabilities or skills with regards to in details, and I'll tell you how we put together the framework in the research. But interestingly, this year, human skills actually came in as the number 4 skill capability. Last year's research, human skills was either in first or second, I can't remember. And again, if you think about the pandemic and what has happened, a lot of organizations needed to update, needed to do a lot of things to keep their company, their suppliers, their partners in line, and therefore required a lot of technical skills. So that kind of colors the research a little bit. We are going to do a year-over-year comparison in our next report, which is coming up in 23, and we'll have actually a 5-year comparison, and we'll kind of see how these things have fluctuated over the years. Now, just to give you more information, it's important to understand how we actually do our research. So we have the skill framework, which is comprised of skill capabilities. I'll share them with you in a minute. A collection of skills, those are the skills which are directly related to a role, and those are kind of the next level underneath the capabilities. And then the skill level, because there are must-have skills, there are nice-to-have skills, and then there are optional skills. And we ask in our survey, according to each skill capability and each skill detail, which level these skills should be. So stay tuned for more. Here, the skill capabilities, and we have used these same skill capabilities for the last 4 years so that we have comparisons. Of course, human skills, we used to call them soft skills, but there isn't anything soft about human skills. They're very difficult to train, they're very difficult to practice, to have, and there's a lot of challenges around those. Just recently, I did a podcast with Gallup on a very good book and a very good research where they're saying that a lot of people have not a lot of human skills, and because of the lack of human skills in many organizations, there is a lot of unhappiness. If you're interested in that podcast, go look at the DevOps Institute's website. That podcast should air fairly soon. Second, process and framework skills. I don't need to explain what that is. Automation skills, technical skills, and if we continue, leadership skills, business skills, cognitive skills, and digital skills. Now, cognitive skills is really that stuff which includes analytical capabilities, quantitative stuff, statistical knowledge, data modeling, AI, and so on. And then digital skills is really having digital fluency and a high level understanding of digital systems and requirements. So change in the systems of records and changes in systems of engagements, shifting them to digital, not digitizing, but truly digital, I think is, and this is the first time we actually have added that, because we know the digital transformation is essential and many organizations have been through it, are still at it, or have begun to go digital. Now, we'll go down the mountain. As I lived in Colorado for 32 years, I many times say it's easy to climb a mountain, but it is actually harder to descend into and from the mountain because you're very tired. Now, hopefully you're not yet tired of the details I'm sharing with you and you're curious on the next level details. So let's see what we have. One of the questions we always wanted to ask is, how is the recruiting what's the state of the recruiting? And here we asked again, where and how are you recruiting in the DevOps space or in IT? And as I already mentioned, there is high demand for engineers in operations and in development, but also there is a significant amount of recruiting for leaders. Now, I want to mention that leaders are not managers. Of course, managers can be leaders, but you don't have to be a manager to be a leader. You can be a leader without being a manager. And we'll have in a few slides more details on leadership skills. And there's a lot of new work we're coming from and bringing in to our community from transformational leadership. So I encourage you to read that. But you can see here, priority number 1, recruiting operations engineers, recruiting developers, and then recruiting leaders. Going down deeper into the capabilities, the first, again, as I said, you saw the capabilities. We then ask which of these capabilities, and I only have the top 5 here, if you want to know how the other ones rank, you're gonna have to read the report. But here is the rating or the ranking relative to the top IT skill capabilities, so those at the top level. First of all, number one, process and framework skills were rated as the number one skill capability, followed by human skills, topped in third place, technical skills, fourth place, automation skills, and fifth place, leadership skills. And as I mentioned, last year, this toggled significantly. We had a lot of more folks saying that technical skills are more important than human skills. I'm very excited to see that the human skills are, again, second priority for organizations in terms of what skill capabilities they're looking for. Now let's go deeper into each of these skill categories or capabilities. And again, I have inserted the top 5 because those are the ones which are I want to speak to and I want to highlight to you. There is in some of the categories, I have them all, but otherwise I would highly recommend go look at the report for more details. So in the number one, process and framework skills, you can see on the right-hand side the different type of frameworks and processes which are currently must-haves. Now, I wanted to say that this doesn't mean that you should only be thinking about these top 5. This really means that organizations are saying these different frameworks and processes are must-have and are combined and used and leveraged within organizations of global today. There is some differences in the regions, and you can look at that in the reports of either EMEA, North America, or Asia Pacific. But in globally, DevOps, DevSecOps, which seems to starting to merge because we find that security has become an integral part of what needs to be happening in IT relative to the accelerated delivery and development and support of applications and services, followed by Agile. Of course, Agile has been around quite many years and is still a very prolific and very exciting organizational framework or organizational practice, shifting also and has shifted into the business levels. Number 3, site reliability engineering. And this one is, I have to say, really blew me away. The amount of growth this particular framework had since last year. I think it moved from 15 to 27%, if I have the data correct in my head. But don't quote me on that. Again, look at the research report. But site reliability engineering is one which has been around for a while, but has been very aggressively, in a positive way, adopted, and because of that has become a must-have process and framework skill. The fourth, design thinking, a different way of thinking about and creating products and services. Also something which has been around for a while, but organizations and leaders and individuals contributors are recognizing that framework or capability or skill as an essential for modern organizations. And then last but not least, value stream management. Again, another one which I have very high, I get very excited about, because value stream management is one of those topics which has been around, particularly as it has come from manufacturing, but it has been around for quite a while. I remember doing my first research project in 2020 on that particular topic area, and has grown in terms of how it has gained must-have popularity quite significantly since the beginning. All right, let's look at the human skills. The top 5, again, there is more than just these. Not really a surprise, collaboration and cooperation is a must-have skill, but also we found that this still is a significant gap within organizations. In the report, we have analyzed the different skill gaps or the skill gaps relative to the skills, And collaboration and cooperation is still the #1 skill gap within organizations. So highly recommend to start thinking about how you can improve your collaboration and cooperation. Problem solving, again, that's what we do. Certainly something we do relative to our development or in operations or in creating infrastructure, and a highly thought after skill in particularly organizations who are shifting left, who are adopting digital transformations or digital services and applications. Communication, as many of us need to work cross-functional and cross technical difficulties, communication is essential. And excuse me, and then sharing and knowledge transfer. Of course, that is another one of those gaps because there are still some challenges either from how to do that in terms of there might not be enough technology for sharing and knowledge transfer there, or in some organizations and some teams, there's just not enough time because there's a lot of reactiveness, even so they have deployed and developed new modern ways of delivering and operating services and applications. They still are very much reactive, and this one kind of always comes last. And then last but not least, and I think this is also very beautiful that it made the top 5, is the diversity and inclusion. Lots of things happened in the last 2 years that this one made it to the top 5, and that is quite interesting and very, very, I'm very thankful that this has actually made it to the top. Now, technical skills as the #3 skill capability are really not surprising details here. Of course, security and cybersecurity. No longer is it a separate function. It can no longer just sit somewhere else. Therefore, we see a lot of interest in DevSecOps or SecDevOps, as the government, I think, in North America calls it. But there have been a lot of challenges across organizations relative to their security or cybersecurity situations. #2, cloud, anything cloud platforms, cloud architectures, cloud applications, cloud administration. We'll get to that in the automation tools, but anything cloud, because a lot of organizations are recognizing and are shifting. They're shifting their applications, they're shifting their services, they're leveraging cloud services from service providers of all kinds, and that is quite important skill to have. Container orchestration, another one of those, and then modern IT architectures other than cloud and container orchestrations as #4, and application technologies such as APIs, REST, and other types of things, as we know that during transformations into the digital space, there needs to be a lot of integrations, either at the systems of records at the front end, as we sometimes call, or at the back end, the systems of engagements. And these application technologies of variety of types are essential for people to understand and have skills in. Now, I know many of you want to dig deeper, so I've brought this eye chart along. Apologize for the small font, but you can see here additional beyond the top 5. As an ex-DBA, I've been a DBA on Ingress and Oracle for many years. Databases, of course, are still a very important must-have technical skill. Operating systems, multiple programming language, and then, of course, storage knowledge, which if you want to, can fit into cloud if it's in the cloud, or if it's not in the cloud as non-cloud storage. One other thing I want to point out, because when I started at Forrester in 2006, somebody pointed out to me it was mainframe will never go away. And that person was absolutely right. Mainframe knowledge, as you can see here, is still a very important knowledge to have, or skill to have, with 27% of our survey takers saying that this is how they rate that as a must-have skill. Okay, we go deeper into the next one, automation tools or automation knowledge, or if you want to call it automation skills. Sometimes I get a bit tongue twisted when I say that. This one is one of those, and as an industry analyst, many enterprises and many individuals always think they can make transformations if they leverage tools. Well, a fool with a tool is still a fool. That's what I used to say to my automation requirements or inquiries at Forrester. And again, another example, if I give my husband the kitchen, he might get together, he might be able to deliver a dinner, but it certainly is not as good as when I do it, because I actually know the tools fairly well, but I don't know the tools only. I also know the ingredients, and I have the skills, and I've got a great nose to actually smell my food. So leave that. I want to leave you with that train of thought. However, continuous integration, continuous development, continuous delivery, continuous testing, and cloud management are the top automation things, tools, knowledge to have. And many of you probably are very fit or are getting fit in any of those, attending the event you are attending, or doing some upskilling already within your organization, either by taking courses or getting certified. Here is additionally, as I know you might be curious for the next levels, there's tons of automation tools out there. And as an industry analyst, I do a lot of comparisons of vendors in this space. So if you ever have a question around the different vendors in different areas, I might have a study and I might be able to help you. But I wanted to point out a few which are important. Process automation. So it talks about robotic process automation or business process automation is still not as high on the automation tool skill chart as most people think, but it is 40%, if I can read the small number correctly. IT, SM, or so IT service management or enterprise service management, because it's probably one of those things which it's been there, we've all kind of been around it, and it's kind of like a given. It's certainly no longer a must-have, but it is a must-have, but it's no longer in the top. A couple other things, hyper automation, which is the term Gartner is using, is there, showed up at 30%, and as I mentioned, mainframe management at 28%. Here again, to point out value stream management, there you can see, and a variety of other things which you, I'm sure, are familiar with, be it the workload automation or CMDBs in terms of configuration management and so on. Okay, I mentioned leadership, a very important must-have skill. And again, I have worked for a significant amount of leaders throughout my career. Started out in IT operations, doing some IT support for financial systems at a very large global company. And I had wonderful leaders, and I also had not so wonderful leaders. Our survey participants are saying, here are the top 5 must-have leadership skills. So the first one is diplomacy. The second one is to create trust, which is a foundation for us in the DevOps world. But it is one of those particular activities which is sometimes can backfire and is very, very difficult to implement. Empowerment. There's lots of exercises towards empowering. And again, the first, second, and third ways of DevOps have that as a foundation. Influencing people, and in terms of power, and in terms of ensuring that the folks who are part of our organization are understanding where we're going, what strategy we're taking, and then being a visionary. I actually would add to visionary also be a change agent. Many organizations have leadership folks who actually cast a very positive visionary shadow on their teams and on their individuals. And because of that, they are very much driving many of the initiatives and the activities. I want to do a call out to, or a little bit of a question or a request. If you see and have, or if you self are a visionary leader, or you have these particular leadership skills, I would love to talk to you and consider you as a case study for us at the DevOps Institute. It's very easily done, and maybe you're interested. If so, reach out to me. Okay, we did a lot of, went across these different skill capabilities of automation, human technology, leadership, and process and frameworks. And on the outside, you can see here a variety of the top 5 skills. I call this the 2022 Global IT Skill Cluster. But I also want to make sure that I address the 4 E's, like E for Eveline. Maybe that's the way to remember it. We used to have and think about our skills in an I shape, right? We are, for example, myself, I was very good at process flows and data modeling because I was a DBA. Well, then I extended my skills from a DBA and process modeling into operations skills. At that time, I worked on I worked in Y2K, did a lot of work around transformations of data centers, and I had to learn a lot of things. And so my skills turned into a T, like T for Thomas. And so I had a lot of other skills, but they weren't very deep. They were good enough for me to do the work of transforming, at that time, 147 data centers into 5 data centers, which was an extraordinary amount of work. But I loved it, and I gained a lot of experience. And today, we actually think of an E-shaped individual. That E-shaped, E for Eveline, is actually has a variety of things to think through. So first, think about your expertise. What is your expertise already? Do you have already a variety of technical skills? Do you have a variety of process and framework skills? That's excellent. So then broaden your expertise to those other 3 bubbles, which are interesting to you and you are actually wanting to explore, which is the second. Exploring means maybe working outside of your comfort zone and working with teams or individuals or projects you might not necessarily be assigned to, but certainly something which expands your your knowledge and skills to capabilities which are other than the ones you already have expertise in. Then experience is when you are working in those different capabilities and you feel like that you can actually share that experience in a leadership way or in a coaching way with others. And out of that experience, of course, you will make the right decisions or decisions which impact the projects and the strategy or the vision of where you're going. And then last but not least, your execution path is the proof of work you have done, the projects where you were successful or sometimes even unsuccessful, because we love to learn from mistakes and can learn from mistakes. So this is what I call the E or Eveline model, 4 E's for understanding your expertise, continue to explore, highlight your experience, expand on that experience from and with others, and highlight and show your execution. So this is really kind of a little bit of a roadmap for you to think through for yourself. Now, before I end, because I have a few more tips for you, I wanted to share with you what is the state of upskilling in the organizations. Last year, so the data again for 22, which is almost last year, because we are, I believe, 12 or 13 weeks away from Christmas. So if you haven't made your Christmas shopping list, you should go and do that. 52% of global organizations, enterprise organizations, have an upskilling program today, which is, as an optimist, I would say, I'm the only German optimist, is good. But that means 48% don't have one. And you can see here, 27% are actually currently developing an upskilling program. 5% they don't even know if they have one, and 16% they don't have one at all. So then we dug a little bit deeper and asked the question, once these folks said, yes, we're developing one, we, of course, wanted to know, where is your upskilling program today? So their stage is, as you can see here on the left-hand side, in a variety of different stages. The majority of them are actually in implementation and delivery and tailored learning journeys already. And that's really beautiful. So upskilling programs, which mean maybe a variety of certifications, which are maybe somewhere in a class calendar available at these enterprises, or regular get-togethers, or whatever types of upskilling there is, which is great. 22% are in the design stage, and 28% are assessing their tailored learning journey for meeting the needs. Obviously, and I'm assuming because I didn't have the chance to dig deeper on that question, but I think they're assessing their existing state because they weren't happy with their existing state of upskilling. And there's a lot of examples out there of organizations who have done a great job in upskilling. Federal Express is one, UPS is one, Amazon is one, and those are all folks we have as community members. And of course, we at the DevOps Institute are extremely interested in helping you to upskill relative to your career. Okay, call to action. What does that mean for you? First, understand where you stand relative to the skill cluster or skill matrix. Look at it for where's your expertise, where do you want to explore, how is your experience today, and how do you actually want to go ahead and develop yourself. That's number one. For leaders who are here and folks who actually design upskilling programs and are responsible for developing their teams, it is no longer an option, it's a must. No longer can we just look at the debt we have in terms of technology. We have to look at the debt and the challenges our people have, because many folks are out there, there is not enough resources out there to hire, which means we have to reskill and upskill those we have in our organizations. There is also a significant amount of improvements relative to compensation. And in our report, we are pointing to Robert Half Technology, who has a great set of details relative to the different salary paths you can go from a system administrator, for example, to a site reliability engineer, upskilling yourself in that. And you are then increasing your number one, fun, and number two, your compensation. And then last but not least, for C-level folks, if there are any folks here who are at the C-level, do an evaluation of your existing upskilling. Does it really meet the needs of your team? Does it meet the needs of your individuals? If not, give us a call. We're happy to help you. And there's, as I said, more detail relative to those skills and necessities. Now, if you are interested in more details, of course, we have, as I mentioned, the report. It's called the Upskilling IT Global Report, can be downloaded on the DevOps Institute website. There's also 3 additional reports relative to the regions. They have a slightly different flavor. If they're a really easy read, I'm hoping it's a little bit of fun for you to read. If you have questions throughout, reach out to me. And then, of course, we're doing our 5th report. We're just in the survey mode. We have a tremendous amount of respondents already. If you already have responded, thank you to you. That's wonderful. If you haven't, go on to this link and you have a chance to win $100 gift cards. We're giving out every month 3, drawing from those who are actually fulfilling and going through the entire survey. So looking forward to that. And last but not least, I want to send a thank you to all of you who have listened and are interested in upskilling. I am happy to answer additional questions if you have. I'm easily found through LinkedIn. I'm easily found through the DevOps Institute. And I'm happy to either receive emails, LinkedIn chats, or otherwise. And with that, have a wonderful rest of, I guess, the year. And I won't wish you a great Christmas because it's still far away, but a happy rest and a healthy rest of 2022, and see you in 23 somewhere in the world. Thank you.